Hi everybody, welcome to today's Cocoon20 keynote. To my left is Sven, to my right Johannes.
Hello.
Hola, hola.
20 years, that's really got to be the first question. 20 years, where has the time gone?
Good question, yeah. I'm happy that I'm physically survived. We are sitting here and we're facing another 20, maybe?
When something like 20 years has gone by, it must be hard, but maybe not so hard, to remember specific things like from the beginning, or do you have really vivid memories of like the beginnings? Like, can you remember the very first party?
Which party? The very first Cocoon?
Yeah, in Ibiza.
Yeah. I remember that. We came with a bunch of friends from Germany, from Frankfurt to Ibiza, and we were like, virgins running a night here, and we were full of ideas, passion, and of course I wanted to personally give something back to the island, because Ibiza was always inspired me in the 80s, not in the 90s, but in the 80s. And this is why I started then my night. I said, it's time that I'm doing something here. And 99, then I had this idea to share my techno vision with the island, with the people, with the music lover, with the freaks. And yeah, so we could not stop. We wanted to carry on. When they said, please, this is the last record, I said, and then? and then we start our after hours, which became very famous, and that was the story why we did it, because we were quite hungry. We couldn't stop, and it was in the beginning, it was a very, very German crowd we had, and we were attracting a lot of people from Germany to come over, and it was quite new, the techno sound, 99, here in Ibiza, and we didn't have any followers, of course not, so that was a challenge.
This is also my 20th year on the island, and I was talking to Adam and Edie yesterday about how when I first came here, it was all about house, really, which is kind of true, because those early parties that you did, I definitely didn't come to Cocoon probably until the early 2000s. What was the tipping point, do you think, about what suddenly switched it from being just German to more cosmopolitan and the Brits coming through?
I think the Spanish crowd, they really loved the techno sound. Also already in Madrid, in Barcelona, and on the country, and they had a strong love to techno music. And we had then a very strong Spanish crowd, I have to say, and they were actually the biggest supporter then. Yeah, Johannes.
Yes, that's true. I mean, as we started, the Spanish people who were going clubbing in Barcelona and Valencia and Madrid, for them Ibiza was like a no-go area. They hated Ibiza because in the 90s, Ibiza was not for the Spanish clubbing kids. It was ruled by the English promoters, and the Spanish kids, there was no techno, what they liked to listen at home. So for Ibiza was not interesting for them. It was not a cool place to go. And we were the first ones who opened the Ibiza for the Spanish clubbing kids. And then with Cocoon, they found their love again with Ibiza. And in 2001, 2, 3, out of a sudden we had 80% Spanish people, including the locals here on the island, who were also left a little bit out.
Johannes, I was going to ask you, for some people who maybe don't know your complete backstory, how did you get involved in Cocoon? When were you first here?
I mean, my parents, they brought me to Ibiza in 1988, and since that year I always came back. And we also became friends here in Ibiza, and then in in 1999. I came to Ibiza and I started giving out flyers for the first event. It was July 1999. And then after those 4 events, Sven and Talida, they asked me if I could imagine to come here for the summer and to be involved and, picking up the DJs from the airport, this was my beginning. And this was then my first season in 2000.
Right. Well, fast forward 20 years, you have Amnesia again, you have Underworld this weekend, and an even bigger coup for the island, really, with Kraftwerk. A question to both of you. How easy or hard is it to get electronic acts from that level to the island?
You have to have good friends. That's it. You have to have good friends, and it's because you mentioned it, Kraftwerk means for me a lot, because when I started as a DJ in 1980, they were just about to release the album Computerwelt, and that was for me the album probably of my life. What changed, that was the changing point. And so I always followed their work, their music, their performances, and the stunning production they do. And with Underworld, I have to say, I have also, with Underworld, my memories are the rave days with them from the 90s on. And so we did, with the show tomorrow, we shared the stages 6 times already, 3 times in Frankfurt, and now tomorrow is the 3rd time then in Ibiza. We became friends. They did a very nice remix of one of my tracks, 1994. And we're quite like-minded in many ways. So I have to say we are proud to present them for our 20 years this year.
Now, we also, we did a quick interview with Underworld for Mixmag TV, and Carl Hyde remembered Mr. C jumping on stage at Amnesia. I think that's about 10 years ago, right?
This was for our 10th anniversary season in Amnesia.
2009, yeah.
Yeah, 2009.
Yeah.
And Mr. C just called and said like, hey, I have the idea, we've never been on stage together, and I would love to contribute something to this performance, and would you mind if I sing my favorite, or my most successful and most recognizable song from this period, because we called the party, We Party Like 1989.
Exactly, with the acid smiley.
And and then Mr. C went on stage, and it was the first time that Underworld and Mr. C been on stage together, and he performed Move Any Mountains, and this was definitely, one of the highlights.
A lot of smiles, yeah.
Of all time.
We'll talk about one of my favorite subjects, music, in a minute, but I think one of the things that's so fascinating about Cocoon is, in those early years, I imagine you were kind of feeling your way through. There weren't any rules then. There were flyers, but there weren't social media posts to think about. Would you agree that you were learning and experiencing, and every party you kind of came away with a mental note? There must have been things along the way where you really did either create moments like the after-party scene, or you learned some hard lessons. Sven or Johannes?
Yeah, we learned some hard lessons. Well, first of all, we had a lot of fun, and this is what we remember. And we got stopped here and there by the police, but then we went to a villa and continued there with 150 people. As Sven mentioned before, the appetite was very big.
Yes.
in those days, and it happened that Sven played for 20 hours, and and then at one point, then it was time to take the needle off.
So actually, am I looking into it a bit too deeply? Was it mainly about having fun?
Of course. I mean, we're here, and I'm here, still here, to share my love with the people and make them happy for a weekend, for a day, for 2 days. I don't know. That's still my mission. And I feel a bit sad for Ibiza because Ibiza is now became like a hub for the promoters and DJ business, you know. And it's just too much going on, in my opinion. It's too much. Who said it before? Was it Anna? Was hat sie gesagt? Cannibalizing in the market. Once we were friends, now we are competitors, and it's all a bit, you know, as when we were doing this a long time ago, there was no tension, you know. It was just very easy. Yeah. It was just an easy thing to do, is to throw a big party. Of course, we have workers and things has to get organized and this and that. But we were all easy, yeah, and that has changed. Yeah. So also talking about after-hour situation. You know, that was always a part of Cocoon, but now throwing an after party is a pain in the ass. No, it is, because you know, you don't know where to go. You cannot be spontaneous anymore. We love to do our guerrilla after hours. Just go somewhere, sound system, bomb.
This was how we did it for.
Yeah. We loved it. Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that some of the people in this room and beyond will be thinking about will be those legendary after parties. Can you both tell me about one that really sticks in your mind? I mean, there'll be a dozen or so, but Johannes, come on, give us one and talk about it.
I mean, I remember the last one that we did in Sestagnol, where the party went on in Amnesia until 9:30, and at 10 o'clock we arrived on the beach, and there were of course already some people waiting, and then we started there at 10, and already by 12 or 1 o'clock we had 3,000 people on the beach, and it was just like a bunch of like freaks celebrating love, peace and the music, and then the police came and said like, hey, listen guys, what's going on here? And they couldn't come by car because the road was blocked already. They came by boat, and we were expecting the worst, and they said, listen guys, you can't stop now. I said, we don't want to stop. I said, like, yeah, but this is the last time you are doing this here, but because if you stop now, to get all these 3,000 people off the beach will create the biggest chaos ever, so you have to continue now. And said, yes, no problem, 9 o'clock, okay.
I mean, I've definitely been to a few of these after parties, but I'm more interested in one that really sticks out for you. Maybe from the last couple of years, like, have you had one? And also, can you, when you play for like 20 hours?
I mean, the special one was, wasn't it 3 years ago, with the theme of Africa?
At Beni Moussa Park.
Beni Moussa, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely at that one.
That was a special one with decoration, the makeup. I was digging African jazz records and fall in love with them, and I thought the island is the right place to play some African jazz on the after hour. And it worked, yeah. They looked at me a little bit like, what? Yeah, but then, you know, it was all right. People were grooving, yeah. Villa Cutimundi, I played long tracks from his Brian Eno curated masterpieces. Yeah, that was a very special after hour.
It was. Sticking on music, one of the things that makes Cocoon so legendary is that there are records which you definitely think of as Cocoon anthems. I would think of, say, if I close my eyes, maybe Roman Flugel Gets Knocked would be one, Matthew Johnson, Decompression. Can you both tell us a couple of records which really help define? I mean, obviously there's a ton of them.
I have, in the beginning was Technasia, no? Force, and Ricardo Villalobos, Easily. There was the one I produced with Anthony Rother, Com, ja, und träum den Mitternachtstraum. And of course, Funk the Void. He
Diabla.
produced- Yeah, Diabla, excellent tracks. And Hannes?
Yeah, Guy Gerber definitely also
Many of
delivered some memorable
Sea of Sand.
Sea of Sand.
This is Balagan. Yeah.
Yeah, and Ricardo delivered many easily.
Yeah, the
For
album.
example,
Yeah.
the Alcachofa album
Yeah.
definitely also became a soundtrack of this time.
Now, this year you're back at Amnesia after a season at Pasha. Back to the learning question. What did you learn from that season?
From last year. Yeah, I mean, for us was we wanted to move, we wanted to change, and we did, and we learned. We were very motivated. We wanted to bring our soul in this club, but it was quite difficult because this club has no soul. So for us it was it was quite clear we cannot move on there. It's a very profit organized club. It's more about tables than the dance floor, and we are a dance floor party. So Amnesia has the better dance floor.
Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, Pasha has his identity, and they came to us with the idea of changing the image and bringing in a dance floor party and reducing the VIP, bringing the focus back on the dance floor, and this all sounded very good to us. So we gave it a try, but very soon we realized that this was just words, and the reality was different, and yeah, I think still is.
But this year,
yeah, and this year we are very, very happy to celebrate the 20th anniversary. It's back in Amnesia, where it all began, where we have the most amazing memories, and I think it's the right thing for us and the place to be.
Yeah, definitely, but non-exclusive. We have to say we do Ushuaia, we doing 10 at Amnesia, Blue Marlin, DC10, and 2-3 more. We're working on the after hours.
Now the idea is to do 20 parties for the 20th season, and we are working on it, and it's looking good. There will be some surprises coming.
I mean, one last question before we hand over to the audience. After 20 years, does that make you think maybe there's another 20 to go, or do you look at it in a different way to that?
Not sure. I mean, I love the island. I still think it's one of the most beautiful places to party, to hang out, to live. And I will always be here for a crowd who loves the music, who loves what we do, and I will play for them. And I don't know if it's still so cool to having a residency in Ibiza. I'm not sure about that, but maybe, being here, but not every week. But now I'm getting 55 this year, so another 20 years, yes. Very optimistic, why not?
I mean, if it's good enough for Mick Jagger, it's surely good enough for you. Okay, has anybody in the audience got any burning questions? Okay, down the front.
Hey, I'm Raphael, Face Magazine, Germany. I love Ibiza. I came here for 400 times. And in terms of booking, you mentioned this exclusivity with other DJs and headliners. I would like to know how difficult it became in the last couple of years to book the rest of the lineup for the season, especially now for your anniversary.
Yeah.
Look at the lineups, no?
I mean, there are so many DJs out there, and they all have agents, and some of them, they have agents and managers, and they all like to write invoices. And they are able to write invoices all year round, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, sometimes even on a Thursday. But when the Ibiza season starts, they can write invoices every day. And that's what they do. And some of them, they are more thoughtful on where the artist plays, because, as I said, in Ibiza, there are 10 venues now, they're open every day. You know, send your artist to Ibiza and you write the invoice. But it is more than just the DJ that makes a good party. You need the right venue, you need the right promoter, and you need the right people on the dance floor, and then the magic can happen. And we have 20 years of experience, and it is a challenge, but we have something to offer. And yes, it's not the easiest to bring the lineup together, but we are still in a good position to invite the people and get the people that we would love to have. And I think this year we got together a nice program.
Any other questions? Okay, again down the front.
Hello guys, I'm Mark from Mixarte Ibiza. Well, 20 years ago you were a kind of pioneer, and now you represent one of the most successful events in Ibiza, in the world probably. So I wanted to know, what kind of advice would you give to a promoter who would like to introduce a new event here in Ibiza, who want to... What do you think is the most important step, the most important thing to start?
I would say check out the other island. It's just enough here, honestly. But this is my opinion on it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
Sven, Johannes, thank you.
Thank you very much.